What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another New York Giants roster bubble video. Please hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops for your drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Also, share this out as well. The training camp dates have come out, but also this is still the dead time in the NFL offseason. So sharing it out, telling a friend to tell a friend, all that sort of communication gets more people to this video, and we certainly appreciate it over here. Roster bubble video, I believe this is episode number 8. I'll run through how I usually go with these videos. They're about 5 to 10 minutes long. I know the last one was like 12 minutes. But I take a player that's on the cusp of being cut, talk about their background, who they're competing with, how they could win a spot on the roster, how they could lose a spot on the roster, and then so on and so forth with a prediction at the end. So today's profile is Amani Oruwariye, who is not really a familiar face for New York Giant fans, but for the last few years he was with the Detroit Lions. To go into the background, he was a 5th-round pick out of Penn State by Detroit. That was when Patricia was still the head coach. And his rookie season, not great stuff as a 5th-round pick. And, you know, I guess one thing to take into account with all of this is that the defense has been horrible the last few years, and so is the cornerback depth for the Detroit Lions. It's not necessarily been a strong suit. And I'm not going to excuse Amani Oruwariye's play, but I'm just saying that's something to factor in, to whereas, you know, the Giants have had slightly better situations with corner depth and also defense and defensive coordinators and stuff like that. So, anyway, 2019, Oruwariye played in 9 games, started 2, had 2 interceptions, 3 pass deflections, 19 total tackles, and then also 34% of the defensive snaps in those 9 games and 32% on special teams. In coverage, he gave up 76% of the targeted passes, so 76% completion, 3 touchdowns, 107 passer rating, which is not good, and a total of 212 yards. So, obviously, not the right start. I forget who the defensive coordinator was. I think it was Todd Wash, who was, before that, the defensive line coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars, or something along those lines. Anyway, moved to 2020, the COVID year. This is the year where Patricia and I believe someone else was fired. I believe it was Bob Quinn, who was fired mid-year. So there was like sort of a transition of power, but really didn't impact the Detroit Lions because they still sucked at the time. And I'm just being completely transparent. So 2020, Oruwariye, 16 games, 15 started, 1 interception, 7 pass deflections, 53 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. In coverage, gave up a completion percentage of 59.3, which is actually an improvement. A 97.5 passer rating, improvement. 3 touchdowns, which is still on there. It's not great. I mean, obviously, this guy, 5th-round pick, but also he's an outside corner, and 53 tackles overall, and 92% of the defensive snaps. So, obviously, he earned a lot. And then 15% on special teams. So, now you move to Aaron Glenn as the defensive coordinator and Dan Campbell as the head coach. 2021, 14 games, total of 11 pass deflections, 6 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery, 57 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss. In coverage, I would say the best stats of his career, total of 61% completion percentage allowed, 671 yards, 4 touchdowns, still not great, but 74.1 passer rating, which is better than years prior, and then 98% of the defensive snaps. So Detroit, obviously, once again, as I mentioned before, not really great defensively through the years that Oruwariye played with them. But with that being said, 2021 was by far his best year. Also a note, this is 2021, his best year in terms of stats. 64.9 passer rating in cover 3 and 44.7 passer rating in cover 1, which is man coverage. So, you know, with that stuff, what does that tell you? Well, that tells you if Oruwariye goes back to his 2021 self, which is a lot to ask, he is a good fit for this New York Giants defensive scheme. So you go to 2022, and in some categories he had career worsts. In some categories it was like 2020 and 2019 all over again. Total of 14 games, 5 games started, 64% completion, 448 yards allowed, 2 touchdowns, 106.1 passer rating. In terms of defensive snaps, got 50%, and I believe was benched midway through the year. Jerry Jacobs, and there's a couple other corners that got opportunities. I believe Desmond Trufant was actually a Lion last year, the year before, but still, he was benched midway through the year, and Detroit Lion fans and I guess the coaching staff was tired of him. And then obviously, with that being said, he was not re-signed because of the bad play over the years. So that's his background. Let's go to his competition. And obviously, he's likely not competing for a starting spot. You got Deonte Banks. You also have Adoree Jackson. Darnay Holmes, who we discussed in the last video. Feel free to check it out. Aaron Robinson, who can play slot and outside, so he's a little bit more versatile. Jamon Green, undrafted free agent from Michigan. Leonard Johnson, who is a second-year man, but it's really his first year after the ACL, out of Duke. And Rodarius Williams, 2021 6th-round pick, and Zion Gilbert as well, who is a second-year man out of FAU, was an undrafted free agent last year. And one thing that a guy like Amani Oruwariye has over the guys he's competing with is experience by far. Obviously, in his first year, he had some injuries. He's had some injuries over the course of his career, like minor ones. But, 16 games in 20, 14 games the next 2 years each. So that beats, honestly, what some of the, corners have in terms of, characteristics in the room. Like Aaron Robinson, I think he's played 11 games over the last 2 years. Jamon Green, undrafted free agent. Leonard Johnson, undrafted free agent. Rodarius Williams hasn't played much. Darnay Holmes would probably be the second most experienced, but Amani Oruwariye, if you're looking for a backup corner, this guy might be the guy, or at least one of the guys, because he's got a shit ton of experience. So how can he win? Stay healthy. Obviously, just talked about those minor injuries over the course of his career. Got to stay healthy. That's, availability. Availability is the best ability, and the Giants need a shit ton of corner depth after the last few years of suffering that room. Stay healthy. Be a ball hawk. He had 6 interceptions in 2021. Obviously, once again, you're probably not getting that in 2023. A, because he's not going to get the playing time. I might be wrong because there might be injuries. So he's probably not going to get the playing time. And B, that was 2 years ago. So that's tough to ask of somebody, hey, listen, you go back to 2021 self. I just don't see that happening. So he could either plateau, he could peak, all these different things. He could sink in his play. There's a lot of variables on the table with that. And get physical. This is a man coverage scheme, so work on your technique, get physical, be a ball hawk. That's some of the best advice that I can offer in terms of how he can win a roster spot. How he can lose holding penalties. If that becomes a thing for him, it's not going to be good because Darnay Holmes already does that, and a lot of the other corners can rise up and take advantage of Oruwariye struggling, whether it's in camp or the preseason games. Does not excel like in 2022. Yeah, a lot of Detroit Lion fans, I'm guessing, would have expected a little bit better from Oruwariye being the second year in his scheme, meaning Aaron Glenn's scheme over in Detroit, and that 2021 best year. You would expect at least, hey, listen, this guy could be solid for us, but obviously he valleyed last year, which is not a good thing. He kind of just went down. But also passed up for younger and inexperienced cornerbacks. As I said, the best thing on Oruwariye's side right now is not how he plays. It's not his resume in terms of how he's produced. It's how much he's played. And the Giants need that. They need availability so much at cornerback. It's been such a detriment and has been a disadvantage to the New York Giants over the last few years because of the guys they had in that room. Oruwariye has experience, and if he's passed up for younger and inexperienced cornerbacks, that might be bad for the Giants, so that meaning, they probably have to go out on the waiver wire and get experienced corners that are getting cut all over the league. And it's bad for Oruwariye because you were one of the top guys in that room, at least slated to make the roster. So how can he win, stay healthy, be a ball hawk, get physical? How can he lose holding penalties, does not excel, and passed up for younger and experienced corners? I think he makes the roster. Now, obviously, the last few years, hasn't been a consistent player, badly consistent for the most part, but his experience works to his advantage, and his availability works to his advantage. So I think he makes the roster. I think he could be better in this scheme. I'm not going to say he's going to be starting caliber. I'm not going to say he's Pro Bowl, this, that, and the other thing. I'm not going to make any of those predictions, but Oruwariye, in my prediction, the only prediction I'll make for him is that he's going to make the roster. Like, comment, and subscribe to all the good stuff. Turn on post notifications soon when the live stream pops video drops. Appreciate you all coming back. Share this out as well. Training camp dates are out. Getting very, very, very close to training camp. And I'm doing every one of these in terms of videos. I'm doing a roster bubble series video every single day till training camp. Really middle of training camp because I've done the calculations. Peace out, guys. See you later. Stay cool.